Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Real Steel, where we talk all things Pittsburgh Steelers, no BS, just The Real Steel. I'm your host, Jeff, joined, as always, by my co-host, Polt. And Polt, the Pittsburgh Steelers, had it all right in front of them for the taking. Win the game in Cleveland, and you win the division. You secure a home playoff game, get to rest your starters for a week, get to go into the playoffs hot. All they had to do was go and beat the 3-12 Cleveland Browns that, oh, by the way, they already beat pretty handedly this season. And right now, this time, they were led by rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders, who, going into this game, among all qualifying quarterbacks, ranked last or near last in pretty much every statistic you can think of. But no, despite the defense holding Cleveland's offense to 13 points, just 13 points, despite winning the turnover battle, despite winning time of possession, despite running more plays, whatever stat you want to find, the Aaron Rodgers-led offense put up an abysmal 6 points and couldn't fucking beat the Cleveland Browns. So here we are. NFL scriptwriters got what they wanted. Their golden girl, Lamar Jackson, is not eliminated yet. Pittsburgh star receiver is suspended for what is now the most meaningful game of the year. Mike Tomlin got his 9 wins. And to top it all off, we have an abysmal, awful, horrible, terrible Sunday Night Football matchup where this Sunday the Pittsburgh Steelers will play the Baltimore Ravens for the division, where, by the way, we are 0-2 this year in Sunday Night Football. We'll be without DK, we'll be without Darnell Washington, and probably we'll be without TJ Watt. So there you have it. The Pittsburgh Steelers are exactly who we knew they are. They're no different than any other team we've seen. They've been the same team over the last few years. They're no different this year. Same shit, different season. Merry Christmas to us. How you doing?
2 minutes in and get my first word here. I mean, I think everybody can kind of tell where you stand. I am on a much different playing field, I guess you could say, than where you are. I've moved on, and I'm moving on to this week. So you said we're 0-2. The Ravens are also 0-2 on Sunday night. So there's something with that. And awful game. If everybody outside of Pittsburgh and probably Baltimore are saying this is like a great game because it is like the best rivalry in all of football, and it's Sunday night and it's for the division, and this division always gives close games. So I wouldn't say it's a terrible game. It's a terrible spot that we had to play in a meaningful game in Week 18 on Sunday Night Football, but it's a big time game, and I don't think it's terrible at all. This is Steelers Ravens. We knew this in the preseason that the season was going to come down to this. You've been saying it for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, this is everything we expected. It just didn't happen the way maybe we expected it to.
I think the cards are super stacked against us. I think this is like the season's already over, in my opinion. Call me dramatic, call me pessimist, whatever. But I am like blown away, and we knew this was going to happen. Like I knew this was going to happen. But I'm blown away that the Steelers couldn't prove me wrong, which I thought the way that the last few games were shaping up, that they would have been able to just go into Cleveland, get things done, and walk out of there with a win. And, we had texted earlier in the week, and we were, pissed that Baltimore won against the Packers and everything that happened there and whatever. And all we had to do was win this football game. But no, we can't. And Mike Tomlin is 0-5 against opponents that are like 8 games below 500 or something. What is this crazy statistic? And we haven't won in Cleveland since 2017 when Ben's not our quarterback or something. Like,
worse than that.
Why can't you go in, beat a team that is so shitty? Your defense plays fine. Granted, the first 2 drives, Cleveland puts points on the board, but like we do a lot, you could argue that first drive was scripted, and we held them, to 10 points in the first quarter and didn't let them score until the end of the game when they kicked a field goal, which we turned the ball over on our 20-yard line. So defense played a pretty good game. The offense couldn't put more than 6 freaking points on the board. And I know we had a missed field goal, and I know that comes into play as well. But this was the worst game of the season, and it came at the worst time possible. Just because now the position that you're in to play Baltimore, they're hot. Lamar may or may not be back. Derrick Henry just scored 4 rushing touchdowns in their last game. He's hot. They've been playing from behind and have everything to prove for themselves. And they want it just as bad, if not more, than we do. And for us, I think it's a horrible, horrible spot to be in. So, to me, season's over. 9-8. Mike Tomlin's getting extended. And hell, Aaron Rodgers is probably going to come back next year, and we're going to be in the exact same freaking place that we were this year. So, 9-8, baby. We did it. We did it. 15th draft pick.
So I'm going to call you're being a little hypocritical here, though, because you said this is everything you expected, right? The Steelers are being exactly the same way they are, but yet you don't think we have a chance to win this game. You know that Tomlin's only had one 9-8 season in all of these winning seasons that he has. We actually typically win 10 games, including the last 2 years. This is, I mean, like we said, this is what we expected. You've been saying it for weeks. I was hoping this was never happening. This is why I preach so hard that the Christmas Day game with the Lions, the Packers game Saturday night means so much, because although I thought we would lose to the Lions and beat the Browns, I also was kind of expecting a one-on-one stretch here, and it's hard to expect the Ravens to lose both games. And it worked out exactly like we expected. Both teams went one-on-one. We didn't take care of business against the Browns, which maybe is why it hurts more. But this is everything we expected. We knew Week 18 was going to be for the division. We might have hoped the DK would be back, but I mean, this is what happens. We haven't won, to clear some of that stuff up. We haven't won in Cleveland without Big Ben since 2003. That's incredible. We're 0 and the last 5 games against teams under 500 by 8 or plus games. We are 0-4-1 with a tie in 2021 against the 0-8 Lions. So every year, like, we lost to the 3-12 Browns this year, 2023 the 2-10 Patriots. Everybody remembers that. 2023 again, the 2-10 Cardinals, 0-8 Lions. We tied, and then 2-10-1 Bengals in 2020. I mean, this is what Mike Tomlin does. These are the Mike Tomlin special games, and this is why everybody in Pittsburgh is so annoyed by Mike Tomlin. But to sit here and say that we don't have a chance is actually, it's kind of crazy. This is the most Pittsburgh Steelers stretch ever. We play good against really good teams. We played good against the Lions and went into their house and won. And then we play down to our opponents, and we play bad against the bad teams. And divisional games are always tough. We've lost 2 games to divisional opponents this year that we should not have lost, the Bengals and Browns. And us putting a stinker in Cleveland, it sucks. It absolutely sucks, and it never should have happened. But it also is pretty typical AFC North Pittsburgh Steelers football. And I don't know. I'm not looking at it as negatively as you are. It sucks that we're here, but we got to move on and get ready for the game on Sunday. And we've already beat the Ravens once. Sure, we had DK and we had Darnell, and both of them played very big roles in that game. But I don't see why we can't go in and beat the Ravens at home with them having some injury issues and things like that as well. So. Yeah, I mean, it's doom and gloom. We don't want to be here. We wanted to be talking about Will Howard getting his first NFL start on Sunday and DK Metcalf not missing a meaningful game and all of this good stuff. But we made our bed, and here we are, and there's still one game left. The season isn't over just yet.
I hate it, man. I don't want you to get my hopes up, because this has been the story that we've had all season long, and I think you're totally right. I mean, we have a chance to win the game. The game hasn't started. We beat them already this season, whatever. I just think our odds are significantly stacked against us, and I do think that this really was, if anything, the team that could have gone in and flipped the script a little bit and beat a 3-12 Cleveland Browns team that had a rookie quarterback that plays like shit typically, and that put only 13 points on the board. And to your point, this is why we got Aaron Rodgers, right? This is why we went out to go get him, to bring him in, to do certain things, to win these games that are close, to get the ball inside 5 minutes with the game left 2 times and be able to put some scores on the board and change things and change the outcome so that it helps us out. So I think you're right. I know I'm being hypocritical because I said, oh, this is where I envisioned us to be. I think I really was, like, in the back of my mind as a fan, thinking that there was a chance, a really good chance, that they were going to prove us wrong, and they were going to say, okay, we are that team that matters. We are that team that belongs. We are that team that can play hard in the last few games of the season and get us where we need to be. And I think for that reason, because they could not do that, now I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, well, they're showing me exactly what they are, which is no different than what they've been any other year, which is, hey, 2 scenarios here, right? We go in, we beat the we beat the Ravens on Sunday Night Football, and we have Houston or we have Los Angeles or we have Buffalo come into Pittsburgh and beat us in the wild card round, or we lose, season's over, 9-8, and that's it. Wipe your paws, get the 16th draft pick next year in Pittsburgh, and there it is. So I don't see any plus side or any positive to it. Sure, you can sit here and we can say, again, I'm being very pessimistic and say, okay, well, we have a chance to win. It's better to be in the dance than to not get invited at all, right? So then you get into the playoffs. There's always a chance when we're there. I just feel like it's the same thing we've always seen, which is barely miss it or barely make it. And then if you make it, you're done. So, yeah, we're in the game. Week 18, we have a fighting chance, winning in like it has always been. But it's just hard for me to stomach it, even though I'm like, I know I was expecting it, but I just thought it would have been different. That's all.
I think you're missing a third option that we could go in and win a first round playoff game. Just think about what we were talking about last week, how differently you were speaking and thinking. And I'm not getting hopes up or anything like that because we could very, very easily lose to the Ravens. But we get DK back. We might get Calvin Austin back. We'll probably get TJ Watt back. Like, there's guys that will make impacts to this team that come back if we make the playoffs. And if we go in at home and beat Baltimore Sunday Night Football with all of our injuries, all of our guys missing, no DK, whatever, I mean, I can call it right now. The tone next week from you and from me will be entirely different, and we'll be looking at it like, hey, 2 weeks ago we have a chance, and we can beat anybody. And we've been saying that for a couple of weeks, that any given day, if we play well, we can beat anybody. And I still think there's a path to that. Sure, it's a lot harder, and we're against the odds, and the odds are stacked against us and all this stuff, but we can still do it. It's just you got to get through 1 week at a time, and we got to take care of business at home against Baltimore, which is a lot easier said than done. But I don't think that the season's over. If we lose to Baltimore and get blown out, then yeah, this season's going to be looked at very, very poorly. But all of the things that pumped up our optimism a little bit earlier in the year and made us think this was different is still possible. I mean, yesterday we made a multitude of mistakes. First of all, the coaching is terrible. Why, Mike Tomlin special? Why do you come out and go down 10-0 in the first half or first quarter? Like, just we didn't look like we were ready to play. It looked like we mailed it in, and we're just expecting the Ravens to win. And then when the Ravens didn't win, or the Ravens to lose, and when they didn't lose, we just stopped caring. I don't know. That was awful. Some of the play calling was terrible. The personnel decisions was terrible. But at the end of the day, the execution wasn't very good either. DK Metcalf wasn't on the field because of his own mistakes. Calvin Austin's hurt. Darnell gets hurt. Kyle Duggar makes a horrible, horrible defensive play on the Cleveland Browns' only touchdown, like looking lost out there when he could have easily either batted the ball down or picked it off, which entirely changes the game because it was a duck for a touchdown. We have a horrible 4th-and-1 play called as well. Pass decision. I think that's actually a Rodgers issue. Throw to Scotty Miller in the end zone. Boswell misses a field goal. Herbig has a drop pick 6. Aaron Rodgers chose to throw to MVS 3 straight times in the end zone on the 7-yard line to tie the game against one of the best corners in the NFL. We did all of those things, and we still could have won this game. And I don't know. I think that there was a lack of execution, a lack of commitment, I guess maybe yesterday, and then there was also coaching errors. And if we clean that up, I think we can figure some things out. But it's hard to say that just it's a disappointing loss, and we said the same thing after the Cincinnati loss. But I think if we clean it up, we can still maybe take care of business.
I get it. I see the same things, all those mistakes that you do, but even with those mistakes, the Steelers forced 2 turnovers. The Browns had none. The Steelers had 291 total yards. The Browns had 262. The Steelers outrushed the Browns by about 50 or 60 yards. The Steelers won time of possession. The Steelers played a fine game. They just were in the Browns territory 6 or 7 times and couldn't do shit. They could not get anything done. And I think part of that is, call it whoever's out, whoever's hurt, whatever. But you texted me before the game a great quote from Aaron Rodgers. Do you have it?
Mm-hmm.
If you have it, I want you to share what it was, because it was basically along the lines of, it's okay that DK Metcalf is out. I'm going to get the ball wherever the ball needs to go and to whoever's going to be open, right? And that was a great thing to hear. That was great to say, okay, we're not going to be over reliant on DK Metcalf not being available to play because he's freaking suspended, right? So that
Right.
was freaking awesome to hear. But that made a huge difference, and Aaron Rodgers couldn't do shit. He really couldn't do shit, dude. I think this was he had one really, really, really bad game earlier in the season. I forget who it was against, but this
The
was
Chargers.
this was just a piss poor performance when you have DK Metcalf out and Darnell Washington gets hurt. Calvin Austin is out, like you said. So what are we going to do on the very last drive when we need to go down and score? We're going to pass the ball to Pat Freiermuth 3 times for 63 yards, get us all the way down there, and then don't utilize him again. And what are we going to do on 4th and 1, like you said? We're going to throw a really long ball to Scotty Miller into the end zone while he's covered. What are we going to do 3 times on the last 15 seconds of the game? Throw it to MVS when he's covered, when he's not even open, when you have Kenneth Gainwell wide fucking open for a touchdown on 4th and 7 or 3rd and 7, whatever it was, to walk right into the end zone. So yeah, the personnel component sucked, but I think there were some key faults here by Aaron Rodgers, and I think that he is the biggest reason of why we lost this game from a player perspective. And I know you disagree.
Yeah, I just think it's a terrible take because you can't just blame Aaron Rodgers for because I mean he's the quarterback. He's going to get all the blame. That's just natural in how the landscape of the NFL works. But I didn't think he played that terrible of a game. He didn't play well, but I didn't think he played that terrible. I don't think he was the only reason we lost. Again, there's numerous things we can go down the list of things he didn't do but caused us to potentially lose the game. Nick Herbig dropping that interception was huge. That's a pick six. That's a touchdown. Kyle Duggar not making the right plays, huge. Now, the Scotty Miller play on 4th and 1, yeah, that's a terrible decision by Aaron Rodgers. Adam Thielen was open on that play if he holds on to it a little longer, but he made his decision, and that's what he's kind of been doing all year, and it's worked, but it's usually DK Metcalf. He needs to know better. But then Boswell missing the field goal, that was awful too. Completely changed the game. It's a whole different scenario at the end of the game if Boswell makes that field goal. The MVS throws were bad. I get it. Why are you targeting MVS on 3 straight plays at the goal line when they're playing man-to-man coverage? Part of it is, one, they didn't have personnel to beat man-to-man coverage. 2, he didn't have time. He had a clock in his head, which we can get into this in a minute, but he had a clock in his head. He had to get the ball out because if you do watch the play with Kenneth Gainwell opening up on 4th down, he chips first and then goes out for the pass. Sure, he's wide open, but Aaron Rodgers had one of his fastest times to throw all year in this game because they were so worried about Myles Garrett. And that's not because of the sack record. We'll get that in a minute, but he had to get the ball out of his hands, or at least he thought he did, and he had time on that play. But the entire game, he was so quick to get the ball out because he didn't want to get the play to be, or the game to be broken up by Myles Garrett. So Rodgers deserves blame, absolutely. But does he deserve all the blame or most of the blame? I don't think so. It was just a total team screw up. I mean, the fact that we didn't run the ball more. Jaylen Warren had 12 carries for 64 yards.
Yeah.
That's over 5 yards a carry. That's a 58% success rate. Pat Freiermuth had 3 catches for 63 yards. That's a 60% success rate. Why Pat Freiermuth didn't get the ball or get targeted more than 5 times and didn't have more than a catch until the final drive is mind-boggling. Why Jaylen Warren, they didn't run the ball more? They were within a score the entire second half. Why didn't they hand him the ball more? Why didn't Kenneth Gainwell get the ball more? I mean, all of these things, I don't know who's calling. I mean, Arthur Smith's calling the plays. I don't know how often Aaron Rodgers is changing them to the line, but that also starts with the play calls as well. And the fact that we're not getting it to our best playmakers, no DK Metcalf, no Darnell Washington for most of the game, and we're not trying to spoon feed Jaylen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, and Pat Freiermuth is insanity, and you can't just blame Aaron Rodgers for that. That's not on Aaron Rodgers, maybe partly if he's changing plays, but I just think that's a lack and utter disrespect and misunderstanding of your personnel, and I think a lot of that goes to Arthur Smith, and we've given him some praise the last couple of weeks, but this was one of the worst called games. I think he tried to outthink the Browns. I think he tried to say the Browns are going to expect us to run the ball without DK, and we ran the ball really 19 times with our running backs, and then Rodgers had a run, Jonnu had 2, and Connor Hayward had 2. That's just not enough in a game that's one score the entire way through. We were playing from behind, but we weren't playing from multiple scores behind, and I just think it's a misuse of this offense. We should not have thrown the ball 39 times yesterday.
Again, I don't disagree. I think everything you're saying here is totally valid. But I think that there's a significant component of this game falling on Aaron Rodgers, and I think he needs to own a majority of the accountability from a player perspective. And let me back this up. Aaron Rodgers had 168 passing yards in this game. That was his fifth lowest all season in terms of passing yards, and he had almost 40 passing attempts in this entire game. That was the second most he's had all season. The most he had was last season or last game where he had 41. So he had the second most passing attempts and the fifth lowest yards. If you go by average in terms of yards per each play or each ball that he threw, 4.3. That's a season low for what Aaron Rodgers had. That was the lowest average yards he's had per pass. His completion percentage, 53.9. That was the third lowest he's had all season. Okay, and then his quarterback rating, his total quarterback rating, which if you look up what that is, it's a score from 0 to 100, and that is ESPN's comprehensive stat measuring a quarterback's overall impact on winning. That was the third lowest QBR that he had all season, 19.6. The only games where he had lower were against Buffalo and against the Chargers. In Buffalo, we threw the ball 21 times, and we talked about how bad of a game that was against the Los Angeles Chargers. So there really is a significant component of this game that is Aaron Rodgers playing pretty poorly, and I think for that reason, he owns a significant amount of accountability. Not all the blame. I'm not saying everything goes there. I think football is a team sport, and there are plenty of people who need to own up their mistakes. And the coaching, like you said, sucked, horrible. But if there was anyone, I'm just going to give it to you right now before we even get there. Aaron Rodgers is my Jagoff of the week for all those reasons, and he needs that. I wish I could tell it to him to his freaking face so that he could say, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong against the Baltimore Ravens. So that's it. That's my rant. I think it's backed up by some of these things that I just mentioned, though.
But your stats aren't in a vacuum. You're trying to make it in a vacuum, and it's just Aaron Rodgers. But he had 21 targets to wide receivers with 8 catches and 60 yards, and only one conversion on third and fourth down on 8 targets. I mean, he's throwing to Scotty Miller, Adam Thielen, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. For whatever reason, Roman Wilson only played 9 snaps, where Scotty Miller played 64%, MVS played 82%, Thielen played 86%. I mean, yes, part of it's on him. Some of the throws were on him, sure, whatever. But it's also on the receiving core. I mean, you can't just say that because his stats look bad, it's all his fault. I mean, MVS ran routes wrong the entire game, never came back, which makes it even.
And Rodgers still threw him the ball. Why would he still throw him the ball? And Scotty Miller, that 4th and 1, that ball was uncatchable. It was thrown over him.
Yeah,
Scotty Miller didn't even have a chance regardless of being covered. That ball was thrown well out of bounds.
I agree, but you're giving his entire stats of 21 for 39 for 168 yards. We talked about 4 plays. That's all we're talking about that were terrible decisions by Aaron Rodgers, like off the cuff. I just think, yes, his stats, and like I said, he didn't play his best game. He didn't play that well. But just to put all of that on him, I just think is a lot. He has taken blame. He said he didn't play well. He said the offense didn't play well. I think the entire offensive team has said that. Thielen said the same thing, and there's a lot of guys taking accountability for this. I think Thielen stupidly said, "I think the offense lost us the game." Yeah, no crap, the offense lost the game. But I just, yeah, that's fine. I mean, you could put it all on Rodgers. I don't think this is it's an offense as a whole. That's why I would give my Jagoff to the entire offense, not just Aaron Rodgers. Because why didn't we run the ball? Why didn't we get Kenneth Gainwell more involved? Why didn't we use Pat Freiermuth? Pat Freiermuth is one of our highest paid offensive players, and we barely try to use him. And he tore them up over the middle on that last drive. And also why I don't blame Rodgers is because they finally opened up the playbook and ran some plays that could get yardage at the end of the game. And look what happens. Pat Freiermuth goes off. We move the ball down the field very easily. We were playing too conservative, trying not to lose in this game, and that's Mike Tomlin, that's Arthur Smith, and part of that's Aaron Rodgers too. But I don't know. I can't give him the most or the 75%, whatever number you want to give blame. I think this was a total team effort to lose this game.
Yeah, that's totally fair. This is my day after
No, yeah,
unhinged, unfiltered opinion. I'm just a little frustrated. I think you had texted me with 5 minutes left in the game, and you said
yeah,
this is what we went out and got Aaron Rodgers for, and I was like,
true.
hell yeah, this game has been winnable up until this point. And sure enough, we don't get it, and they make the decision 4th and 10 on our own 20. We're going to go for it, and I was stoked. That's a great decision because Tony Romo said it, but worst thing that happens, you hold the Browns anyways, and they're
Yeah,
going to get a field goal, and you're still in a one-score game, and that's exactly what we did, and that worked out fine. And so Aaron Rodgers got a second chance. And sure, we moved the ball downfield really significantly that time with Pat Fryermuth. But to your point, there's two things you can look at when you can say, oh, we're not utilizing certain players or we're not getting the ball to certain players. There's two variables there. The one variable is, maybe there's three variables. The one variable is, are they on the field, right? Like, what's their snap count? That's variable number one. The second thing is what's the play call and what's the play design? Are they running a route or not? But the third factor in it is what is the quarterback doing? Is that player getting attention from the quarterback for them to be able to get them the ball? So there is a part of your argument or your side of things that is Aaron Rodgers based, right? It's like,
yeah,
okay, we got Pat Fryermuth the ball 3 times in a row and he got 63 yards, but then we didn't look towards him again. I don't even know if he played in those last few plays of the game, but it didn't
yeah. He
matter
was in
because
there.
Aaron Rodgers didn't even look at him. He went to MVS all 3 times. So to me, your points are 100% valid. I know that at the end of the day, this is a team game. The whole offense played terrible. There were all those mistakes that you made. Coaching sucked. I get it. But I just think Aaron Rodgers needs to take a little bit more accountability and ownership than anyone else does for this game, because this is a game that if you have excellent quarterback play or even just good quarterback play, you can go and score more than 13 points and you can beat the Cleveland Browns. And there were multiple chances when we did it. We were inside Browns territory multiple times. We had that game-winning, potential game-tying drive, couldn't get it done. And so for that reason, we got to move on. But
Yeah,
we can let bygones be bygones,
I'm
Like
just
each
saying he
their own.
did give them a chance for 6 more points. So, I mean, they did have a chance for 6 more points. Bad 4th-and-1 decision, I think, in a game like that. Boz missed field goal, and then the 7 points at the end of the game too. I mean, there's 13 points right there. Definitely have
Yeah.
to give him the 7. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you.
All right. Well, now that that's over, deep breaths. We talked about the game through all of that, but I think there was a significant flaw that you said we weren't running the ball to the extent that we should have been. Maybe
Yeah,
they were trying to get cute with it and thought that hey, Steelers are going to run the ball every time, but Jalen Warren was running the ball pretty darn well.
yeah,
And Kenneth Gainwell, who I would argue that the past few games has been our best offensive player, I think he touched the ball 10 total times in this game, which
yeah.
is ridiculous.
Hmm.
Kenneth Gainwell should have been much more significantly involved. So there were tons of flaws for how this game panned out offensively, ultimately leading to 6 points. You mentioned the Boz missed field goal. That super sucked. Boz, for some reason, he missed a kick last week. Can't kick well at all in Cleveland. Almost missed his first kick in this game. Played the wind well in his second kick, but yeah, that's definitely a component too, and that sucks because we're very high on Boz and still think he's one of the great kickers. But
Yeah,
hopefully he's able to rebound and bounce back. But the defense, aside from some of those big plays, the drop pick six and that you know missed turnaround by Kyle Duggar, the defense played themselves a pretty darn good game.
they did. Yeah, I mean This is a like we said. Cleveland was missing their top running back, but they only ran the ball 25 times for 78 yards. So that's like 3 yards a carry. We stopped them there. Other than that the first and second drive where they drove down the field, they barely did anything. I saw some stat that they had I think 25 yards the entire second half or something crazy like that. One first down, not many plays. I mean, the defense did everything it could, I think, to win the game, other than the few mistakes we said. But again, that's that's where on a game where the offense plays bad, you hope the defense can come through, but it's hard to expect that out of a defense. So yeah, I thought the defense played great. I think it's great that we've now gone 3 straight games of really, really solid run defense. I think we've given up, let's see, and I know this is the Browns, but we gave up 63 against the Dolphins, 15 against the Lions, and 78 against the Browns. I mean, that's 3 straight weeks of solid run defense, and obviously that's going to be a key stat to next week's game against the Ravens. And the defense is starting to come into its own, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said something along the lines of like you would I think in some of these games you rely on the defense and hope they can pull through.
Yeah,
And maybe from that perspective, what you meant is force a big turnover or get
right.
a defensive touchdown or something.
Yes.
Because I would argue that the defense did pull through. If you look at what happened
Yeah.
in the fourth quarter, all of the Browns drives, interception, 4-play punt, 3-play punt, and then a 4-play field goal, but that only went 5 yards because we turned over on downs on on the 20-yard line. So
Right.
the defense played, I would say, out of their mind. Now, again, I think this is a pretty crappy offense with Shadur Sanders. I think he showed a lot of rookie mistakes. Harold Fannin, who was their probably best receiving
easily.
target at the tight end position, he got hurt easy. Jerry Jeudy had a couple big plays early on in the game at the wide receiver role, but outside of that, like the defense played lights out. And again, that is also part of the reason why I'm just a little bit bummed out, right? You held Cleveland to 13 points. The defense was firing on all cylinders. Yeah, Boz missed a field goal, but Corliss Waitman actually had a pretty decent game. He had a 53-yard punt, I think, right off the bat. And the offense is really what kind of dragged us down here. So I'm with you. It's great to have the defense playing at the level they're playing. You got to hope that they're going to be able to do something similar against Baltimore, who Derrick Henry is coming off of 4 touchdowns and 200-some yards. And when Lamar gets back, granted, he doesn't always play well against us, and the Steelers are 3-1 against Tyler Huntley, if that is who is playing. But you got to be ready for everything that the Ravens are going to kind of throw at you. So it's great to have the defense in that rhythm, and maybe T.J. Watt does get a full week of practice and come back. Who knows? But we're going to just need to kind of keep that defensive momentum, I feel.
Yeah, the only thing I give a slight disagreement to is the Corliss Waitman one. The first field goal, he completely dropped the snap. That almost was catastrophic, and then I didn't think his punting was all that good. I know he had a lot of short fields, but he's punting the ball like to the 15 as opposed to potentially getting them with inside the 10. And so I think the punting could have been a lot better. And Waitman continues to, in my opinion, get worse and worse as the season goes on.
I guess the reason I probably said that was because we were on the 50-yard line every freaking time that we were punting
Right.
it. And so pinning them inside the 10 or the 20 multiple times seems to be nice, right? Makes the Browns forced to drive the whole field. But you're right, on the stat sheet, 5 punts for 203 yards brings the average down to 40, so not great. And if you're punting from the 50 or 45-yard line, you should be able to pin inside the 5, inside the 10, and we haven't had very many like that. I think what I guess I'm saying there, I feel like I'm kind of beating this dead horse, but this was an offensive mishap game, and that's what it all boils down to, right? Six points. If you look at the Steelers' entire schedule this year, we have not had. We scored 7 points against the Bills, and that was like a ridiculous crapshoot of a game, right? It's like no one seemed like they were trying and whatever. But this is the lowest we've points we've scored or put on the board all year. So pretty poor.
Last thing about the offense is we have to talk about the Myles Garrett thing. And so if you watch the game and you listen to Tony Romo and Jim Nantz talk, I feel like they talked about it every single offensive play we had about how Myles Garrett was going for the sack record. And everybody's trying to say that the Steelers only cared about not giving him the sack record and cared more about that than winning. I think that is the most ridiculous comment like possible out there. First of all, he didn't have a sack against us in the first time around. So we give him a lot of attention because he's one of the best defensive players in football. He is going to be the defensive player of the year. We have Dylan Cook, who has played great, but is still an undrafted guy that was just like on the practice squad 3 weeks ago. going against the top defensive player, of course we're going to give him a lot of attention. Like, that's just playing smart football there. And so I think, yes, they gave Myles Garrett a lot of attention, but I think that was pretty normal, and that's what every single team in the NFL does. And I don't think we did that more than we normally do, and I don't think we did it and to like a hindrance of winning. If we did it to a hindrance of trying to win, we would have held him every play and moved back 10 yards every play. I don't think we even had a holding call, maybe one the entire game. So it's not like we were just tackling him so he couldn't get the sack. We were just giving him extra attention, which a guy of his caliber deserves. We say that about TJ Watt every week. On the flip side, a guy like Myles Garrett deserves that kind of attention. And I just think that the narrative that we cared more about stopping the record than winning the game is absolutely ridiculous and needs to be stopped being talked about.
So that, I think everything you said totally tracks, right? We granted, by the way, we did a really great job stopping Myles Garrett, and it's awesome that he did not get the sack record because fuck Myles Garrett. But
yeah.
From a Dylan Cook perspective and chipping and all that stuff, you're right. If we're playing a really solid pass rusher, we're going to do those, utilize those things and play how we played, just like we did the first game. Yeah, I think that's a great point to bring up. Now, I'm going to add an extra layer here that's probably going to at least piss you off a little bit. But I do think that Aaron Rodgers was impacted by this. And
Sure.
I think that goes into his statistics where he had 4.3 yards on an average per attempt. There were, I think, at least 3 times where I could count where Aaron Rodgers had someone kind of bearing down on him, and he threw the ball, a complete lateral or sideways or whatever, and we lost, 5 or 10 yards on some of those longer plays because Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to take a sack. Now, if he takes a sack, maybe it's for less yards and they give you forward progress based on where the quarterback was when he got hit, blah, 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 blah. I do think there were definitely some plays where Aaron Rodgers was just trying to get rid of the ball really, really early to prevent that sack. And that was at a detriment to us and to us advancing forward in certain instances. So while I agree with everything that you said there about we played offensive line and how we chip and handle him no differently, I think that Aaron Rodgers had in the back of his mind that was definitely something that was going on, and he was forced to make some decisions where maybe he would have just held onto the ball and take a sack in certain instances. And so to me, I think there is a little bit of truth in that narrative where it says, hey, we were thinking about that in the back of our minds, and that caused some decisions to be made.
It definitely impacted his play style. I cannot argue that. That's 100% true. That's in the numbers. But to say that he was worried about Garrett getting the record is just asinine. He didn't want to get hit by Myles Garrett. He doesn't want to get sacked ever. If we get sacked, we never convert third downs on drives that we get sacked or get holding calls. That's just how it is. But look at his numbers. He played that way because that's what worked. His quick passing approach, he was 16 of 24 for 114 yards, which was 65% of his attempts. When he held the ball longer than 2.5 seconds, he went 5 of 13 for 54 yards. So when he did hold the ball longer, it didn't really work out. I agree with you. There's some plays that he should have held the ball longer. It would have been better. But to say that he was affected, for sure. But that's what happens when you play one of the best pass rushers in the league. I think it's fine to say we gave attention and it affected the game. I think it's wrong to say that we did it just because we didn't want him to get the record. It's the whole record thing. We didn't care about the record. We just didn't want him to blow up the game.
Who owns
he didn't have a sack on us the first week.
Who owns the record right now?
TJ does.
Yes, you don't think the Steelers cared at all about that?
No.
I think they did. Did.
No. They went out there and they played how they play Myles Garrett every single time we play him.
Yeah, and they went out there how they played the 3-12 Cleveland Browns too, and that sucked.
Sure, that's fine, but it had nothing to do with the record. That's my point there.
All right, touche. Well, what's great about having an opinion is that we can both have our opinions, and we'll never know who's actually right. Yeah, exactly. We can both be wrong. We can both be right. We can both be wrong.
Exactly.
Okay. What else about this game? Because we've gone on a bit, and I think it's time to bury it. You have already moved on. Kudos to you. I have not, clearly, and that's something that I just need to kind of get over here and internally figure out what's going on. But I gave a jag off. Do you
So
want
did
to give
I.
one to, or are you giving it to the whole offense?
I'll give it to the whole offense slash I'll say Arthur Smith. Just because the usage, the play calling, the getting away from the run was, I think, a huge factor in this game.
Okay, I'm gonna give my balls of steel to Alex Highsmith.
Okay, I just wrote that down for myself. We're doing for the second time this year, a double balls of steel.
Double down. Yeah. I mean, Tony Romo said it, but Alex Highsmith really impacted, the play or the
Yeah,
game. I think in almost every play. His stat line doesn't read amazing aside from two tackles. I guess it does read pretty good.
it
Sorry,
is.
two tackles for a loss, two sacks, four QB hits. But he made himself known, really was a force to be reckoned with all over the field. Great to have a guy like him playing when TJ Watt is out. Will be great to have, hopefully, TJ Watt come back and us to be able to see Alex Highsmith play alongside TJ Watt, and then have guys that you can also rotate in at the edge. But Alex Highsmith, I think, was the best player on the field for the Steelers this week.
I completely agree. In his stat sheet, he's the only player on the defense that had a QB hit. He led us in sacks because he's the only one that had a sack, and he led us in tackles for loss. You said all those stats, but I just think that emphasizes how good he played. And he was really, really good against the run. He might have only had 3 total tackles, but they had the one 26-yard run or something that got called back for a holding against Alex Highsmith. I just thought he was all over the place making plays. And, yeah, he continues to play better. There was a moment there in the middle of the year where he was not really doing anything. I think he was hurt. He looks great now the last couple of weeks, and I agree if we can get TJ back and we can have him and Highsmith tandem on the outside with Herbig as well, I think this defense can just get better and better. So, yeah, Alex Highsmith, it was hard for me. I almost went no jag off, but I think Highsmith definitely deserves it. Or no balls of steel, but Highsmith deserves it.
Yeah, I think some players on the defense could have been awarded, but it's a pretty clear cut Alex Highsmith winner for me. So
Yep, me too.
good double down. Okay, we gonna talk about the Ravens at all? Because that's all that's left. That's it. Sunday Night Football, just like the script was written from week one. We knew it was gonna happen. We knew it was gonna happen the last couple of weeks. I'm pissed that it is happening. Sunday Night Football, and we're either going to be going to the playoffs or we're going to be going to bed on Sunday night, actually probably Monday morning because of Sunday Night Football. Not very happy. And I think it's going to be the latter, but I hope it's not going to be the latter. What do you got for me?
Well, I mean, I'll start with there is other games this weekend that matter. So if we do win, we'll say that
No. We can't talk about games that matter.
No, I'm just saying that
Playoff
we don't
seeding
have.
and
There's no
stuff.
Houston. Why? I mean that's a
Well, because
certain.
we're not in the playoffs. We're not in the playoffs. We got to win.
We've been talking about it for 3 or 4 weeks, and we haven't been in
Well,
the
it looked like
playoffs.
we were going to beat the Browns, but we laid a dookie. All right, go ahead. Say what you're going to
I'm
say.
just saying there's 32 different scenarios that can happen to get us either the Chargers, Bills, or Texans. So that's what you have
Okay.
to look forward to. 32 different possible scenarios.
Is that really
I mean,
what it is? There's 32 scenarios.
There's 32 scenarios based upon 5 games that could change who becomes the 5 seed, which would play the winner of the Sunday Night Football game as the 4th
What's the
seed.
most
Yes.
likely,
Oh, geez, I don't
in
know
your
who
opinion?
I don't know who the Dolphins play. They play the Patriots. I think the most likely is probably the Texans, which would mean the Patriots, Chargers. Oh, geez, maybe not. Yeah, the Texans, the Patriots, Broncos, Jags, Texans, and Bills all win.
It's a lot of teams that need to win. So what you're
It's all
saying
all
is,
the better teams. That's me saying that all the better teams are going to try and win the game.
yeah, well, some things happen with Week 18 with players resting and stuff like
Correct.
that, right? There's every single playoff spot is locked up except for 2. And it's
Yes.
one in the NFC South and it's one in the AFC North. And they're both going to be the 4 seed, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so honestly, it's a pretty crappy week.
Well, there's a
In
lot.
terms
I mean, there's a lot of
seeding.
seeding to get done.
A lot of seeding. Okay, so
So
teams
that's
are
why.
likely going to be playing for seeds. And both the 1 seeds are still on the table, correct?
Correct. Right. So that's why like the Jags, the Broncos, the Jags and the Broncos, them trying is because and the Patriots because they can all get the 1 seed. So we're kind of relying. We'll know by Sunday night, obviously, because we're the last game of the season. We'll know who we would play, but that's that scenario. I can move on, so you don't have to think about the
No,
hypothetical
no,
anymore.
I got it while we're here. What is the one thing that is hindering us from a tiebreaker perspective that if the Ravens beat us, that they win the tiebreaker against us? So
It's
we'll both
record
be
in
9-8.
common games.
Record in common games.
Yes. So if I bring up the NFL tiebreakers real quick, I believe it's the fifth tiebreaker or maybe the fourth that we lose. So the first one is head to head. We'd be even. Then it's
1-1.
best. Yeah. Then it's one loss tied percentage in games within the division. We actually might lose that now that we lost to the Browns.
That's what it
Um,
is.
yes, we would lose that because we lost to the Browns. So we lose the second tiebreaker.
Lovely.
Yes. So just to add more injury to insult there.
Yep. Yep. But yeah, because if we won the Browns game, then it wouldn't have mattered. That's right.
But
So
but if we would
we
have
are
ended
both
tied,
three and
but
two.
yeah, if we would have ended
Okay,
tied
so
regardless, it would have been the third one, which is win percentage in common games, which they had us beat on. Regardless of how anything played out these next 3 weeks, if we ended up tied, same division record, same head to head, and same overall record, we would have lost common games. So we always never had the tiebreaker.
so what were those pivotal games? Green Bay.
Ooh. Well, they lost. I guess Green Bay's one of them. The Bears, they beat the Bears. Um, they lost to the Bills like we did
But they
too.
lost to the Lions and we beat the Lions.
Right.
Um, they lost to the Patriots, as did we.
Yes.
Um,
They lost to the Bills like we did. I think it might be come down to the Bears and
the Packers.
the Packers,
And then we take one for the Lions. So
and then we
yeah,
would take
it's
one
one
for
of
the
those
Lions.
games. Win one of those other games, and that Sunday night football Packers game was rough. It's funny to go back and look at some of these games, right?
Oh yeah.
Because look at how winnable some of these were throughout our schedule. And yeah, really really frustrating. Okay, let's wrap it up and get to this preview.
Yep. So the Ravens are an interesting team right now. Their stats, it's kind of hard to say, but offensively, they're 11th in the league in points per game, first running the ball, and that's how they destroyed the Green Bay Packers. They're 28th, though, passing the ball, so they don't have a very good passing attack. I do believe Lamar threw pretty well against us in game one, though. No, only 219 yards, so not that great. But defensively, they're starting to come into their own, but they still struggle at times. They're 18th in points allowed, 12th against the run, and 29th against the pass. The big thing is last week they decided to feature Derrick Henry. They really haven't done that much this year. Derrick Henry ended up with a 200-yard game the first time this year, I believe. Yes, the first time this year. Will they do that again? That's the big question. The second big question is who's going to play quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson went out 2 weeks ago against the Patriots on Sunday Night Football. Tyler Huntley came in. Tyler Huntley played last week against Green Bay and won the game. According to Mike Florio last night on Sunday Night Football, it was just below 50-50 shot for Lamar to play on Sunday this upcoming week. For us, to be honest with you, maybe a hot take, I think we want Lamar to play. He tends to play worse against us, and if he still has an ailing back, he might not be able to run as much, and then he's one-dimensional again, which we kind of like. But we do have Tyler Huntley's. We have the upper hand on Tyler Huntley. We're 3-1 in games against him. So we'll kind of see what happens. But those are the two big question marks there of how much are they going to feature or I just read Calvin Austin, sorry. How much are they going to feature Derrick Henry and who's going to play quarterback?
Yeah, a couple things I'll add. So we are 3-point underdogs in this game
Yes.
at home on Sunday Night Football. You mentioned the Ravens are 0-2 on Sunday Night Football. We are also 0-2 on Sunday Night Football. The last game we had against the Ravens, they completely dominated us in terms of the stat sheet.
Yep.
420 yards to 318 yards, 22 first downs to 13 first downs. They won the time of possession. They were 3 for 4 on fourth down conversions. They really, really beat us in that game, and we were fortunate that the right call was made at the end, but we were fortunate that we had things go our way in getting that win on the table. So This is a game where, we hate each other. And I don't know. I'll go in with my bold prediction and just say I think this is going to come down to the last play of the game, and I think there's going to be refs that come into play. And I don't know if it's going to be one way or the other. I hope it's going to be in favor of the Steelers, but I can't even go as far out to say that because I don't feel like we're going to win, but I don't want to say that. So, yeah, bold prediction. Last play of the game, and refs have a little bit of a sprinkle of action in there.
The one thing to add to what you said about the last game, they did run the ball for 217 yards against us. Derrick Henry had 25 for 94. Keaton Mitchell had 6 for 76. And Lamar had 7 for 43. They ran the ball all over us. But the key to that was we did not have Derrick Harmon in that game. We've talked about this week in, week out. We didn't this week, but Derrick Harmon has stabilized our run defense and continues to be really good against the run. Like I mentioned, we have 3 straight games of really good run defense, 63, 15, and 78. It's going to come down to can we stop the run and can we run on them? Because also in that game, we only ran the ball for 34 yards. So we've been really good in the trenches the last 2 weeks. But like we said with this game recap, we got away from the run against the Browns. Can we win the ball, win in the trenches, and control the line of scrimmage? That is going to ultimately decide who wins this football game. For that reason, you have to choose a trenches. You have to choose a trenches stat, I think. As the bold prediction here, and I'm going to go with a pretty bold one. I don't know when the last time this happened. I think we have more rushing yards than the Ravens do in this game. If that happens, in my opinion, and this is bold, like I'm going very bold. It's possibly the last game of the year, last regular season game for sure. I'm going very bold. If that happens, I do think we win. And like you said, we always try to, or we do tend to do bold predictions based upon the Steelers winning. I'm going to stick with the Steelers winning. I think that the underdog in this game is always usually covers, so maybe look into the Steelers spread, but I don't really know how they are straight up. But this game's always close. The home team always seems to have a slight advantage. We do somehow have a leg up on the Ravens in the last couple of years. We just got to stop the run. That's the biggest thing. And they've had a house of horrors in Pittsburgh. I mean, remember last year we beat them 18-16 when they had like 7 drop balls. So we'll see who plays quarterback, how Derrick Henry does. But I think the Steelers win a really close game, like 20-17.
I think it's going to be a nasty game, man. I think
Oh yeah,
drink your drinks, take your gummies, do whatever you need to be at peace during this game because it's going to be pretty darn hard to keep a lid on here. So
it's not
um,
going to be pretty. It's going to be AFC North like dirty football that not dirty is the wrong word, but like hard nosed, tough, not really much going on. It's going to be pretty darn boring to watch, I think.
yeah, not fun to watch. I think it's going to be agonizing, which I think I texted you like 4 times how agonizing it was watching us lose to the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Listen, let's hope that there's a big mood change in my household this week after Sunday Night Football. Appreciate you being optimistic and kind of carrying this forward. Let's hope we can get it done, right? Win and in, 4th seed in the playoffs. It'd be great to have a home playoff game. And like you said, it's better to make it to the dance than to not get invited at all, right? So
Yep.
if you get in, who knows what can happen? It's anyone's game, and the field's a lot more wide open this year than it has been in past years. So I certainly think that anything could happen. It would just be great to get there, but we got to do our job to get there. We had chances in the past, didn't make the most of it, but at the end of the day, we still have one more ahead of us, right? So
Exactly. Week
get
17
get the
was
win,
terrible, but we still have one more chance.
get the win, make it in, and then things are a lot different. Perhaps, perhaps could be a lot of the same, but we won't go there yet. Even though I
Yep.
already did. All right. Well, we'll be back next week, hopefully in high spirits, but potentially not. But we'll see where things go. Hopefully we can grind it out on Sunday football and beat the Ravens. So, as always, thank you everyone for listening, for watching. We'll be back next week.
Thanks, everyone. Peace.